morning. I'm just out here in the shop hanging out with our pet turtle. It's funny, it's not a pet, it's a wild turtle, but this is the third year that we have seen this. I don't know if it's a male or female. I don't know much about turtles. If you do know anything about turtles, leave it down in the comment for me. I'd be interested to know. But this little fella, this is the third season we have seen this in our shop. It lives in our shop. I don't know if all the time or what, but it comes and goes. We see it outside sometimes, but usually we see it in our shop, and he wants down. I don't know if I'm supposed to pick this thing up or not or what. I mean, I don't think it really matters, but anyway, I was about to get going on some work, and I actually tripped over him, tripped over this turtle while I was walking through the shop, not paying attention. And we feed it little bits of dog food, and we feed him tomatoes and other vegetables out of our garden. And it just stays around. So doesn't go down to the water that we know of. We always see it in the shop. And it's funny because we've got Great Pyrenees, big white dogs, you know, and there's always big hair balls all over the floor in the shop here. And so a lot of times he'll have big hair balls, big white hair balls hanging off of his back feet or whatever as he walks around the shop. And I think he's gotten to the point now where he'll literally follow us around in the shop. So if we go sit at the table here behind me, next thing you know, he'll show up out of nowhere, and he'll be at our feet, you know. So I guess it, you know, knows who's feeding him. So anyways, let's get to work. He's hungry today. I tried to find him yesterday. That tomato was full of worms. I tried to find him yesterday in here and I couldn't find him. And this morning I tripped over him. He goes to town on these tomatoes. All right, so I got the turtle fed, and if you've seen our other videos about where we had our pool taken out and our pond that's just beyond the pool dug out, and then we use the dirt to fill in the pool hole. I've got the landscape beds done, and I've done a video about that previously, updating on that, but this is the last little bit of this project, is this creek bed. It's a dry creek bed, and it's hard to tell the elevation changes and stuff on video, but this is a pretty sharp pitch, and we get a ton of runoff when it rains a lot. We get a ton of runoff all the way on top of the hill from the pasture, and it runs straight down through here. And that was part of the problem with having the pool here is when it rained enough, we'd get rainwater flowing through here and into our pool. Just bad planning on my part. But I'm gonna grab this from Chief and show you what I'm working on. This is gonna be, it's about a 12-foot wide by about 90 or 100 foot long. It'll be a dry creek bed, and it'll serve as kind of a wash area for when it rains enough. This water's gonna start rushing through here, and it'll you know, help with erosion. So let me grab this from her and I'll show you. All right, so this is what I'm working on. I don't have my mic, so it might be a little windy. If it gets too windy, I'll cut it off and wait for it to die down a little bit. But so you can see here, and it's really hard to tell, but the water runs right through here when it rains enough. So I've laid down some old sheets and blankets and crap we don't ever use, some cardboard to protect this liner. This is it's a pond liner, and I got this at Pond Pros. It's out of Shawnee, Oklahoma, so it's only like an hour from here. You can order this; they ship all over. But this is some really good stuff. But anyways, I've got it kind of rolled out. Now this is folded in thirds. We're gonna have plenty. I'm trying to pull it all to this side, and then whatever's over here that's excess I can cut off and use for, you know, a future project or whatever. But we got down into here, and I know this is probably hard to tell, the pitch and the you know, the terrain, but trust me, it drops quite a bit right here, and the water just rushes through here like crazy. So this will unroll. I've got some roots to dig out here so it doesn't damage this liner, but this will unroll and it'll marry up with this pond liner and this dry creek bed. And so once it gets into here and, you know, marries up here, then I'll turn it that way and it'll go straight down into the pond. So that is that. If you don't remember or haven't seen my other videos, this dry creek bed at the very top up there is where my stock tank overflow comes out. So there's a 4-inch pipe that goes from back over there where my windmill and stock tank is. It's piped underground, just the overflow, and it comes out right there. And this has a liner in it and the rock. All this stuff is blooms falling off. All that white stuff is blooms falling off this tree. But in case you're wondering, but it's a little bit windy out today, and you can see, I mean, we get quite a bit of runoff excess from that stock tank. And this is, I've kind of made a little channel here to try to stop too much erosion. But you can see, if you can kind of see down in there, you can see where the it's silting in down there. And that's life. I'd rather have it in one spot rather than around the whole pond. So a couple other things I did before I did this. I thought if I ever want to, let's take a look back up that way. So if I ever wanted to put a waterfall type of, basically pump the water out of the pond and have it go up to the top up there, and then it can just recirculate down through there. I wouldn't run it all the time, but if we had people over or we wanted the sound of a little bit of waterfall, you know, we could do that. I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but while I was doing this, I went ahead and buried a 2-inch water line. I just have it coming up out of the ground and capped there. If I ever wanted to do this, I could dig that up, cut off the elbow, and have it continue down into the water where a pump would be. That Pond Pro company, they sell all this stuff. She's the one who helped me kind of design this and told me what size pipe I would need, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that was super helpful to have an actual pro. We figured out the length and width and all that kind of stuff. And she said a 2-inch water line is what I would need to get a nice flow. So that's what I did. So we'll walk back up this way. I'll show you a few other things I did before I put this. Now this is obviously, this is going to be covered with rock, boulders and rock and river rock. So before I do all that, I wanted to kind of what I call future-proof this project. As you can see, I've got all these boulders are just staged here. They're all going to be down into this pond liner here in a few hours, hopefully. But to future-proof this project, I've got the bed over here, I've got landscape bed over here, but to go underneath this, if I ever needed to go underneath this at any point, you know, I wanted to be able to pull either wire or you know, I don't even know, water line, just anything that I could do that. So I set it's like an access panel for like sprinklers. It's just a box you buy. It's got a lid on it, comes off real easy. I set one there, and then underneath here, I ran a 1-inch water PVC water line. I'm gonna pull this cap off real quick, but basically you can see from there underground over to there is a 1-inch water line, a 4-inch just blank, it's just an empty PVC line, and then I ran conduit as well with electric in it. So I'm gonna pull this cap off and show you. So here's what's inside here. This is the 4-inch line that's just blank. It only goes about 8 inches down and then goes across. Yeah, I marked it like I'd ever forget, but you never know. I may not be around forever and somebody will be thinking, where the heck does this thing go? Also the 1-inch water line there. And then that's that 2-inch line that goes to the pond. That's if I ever wanted to, I could come in here. It'd be tight to work inside here, but I could certainly come in here, put an elbow on this, come out the side of this box and over into this area where I'm sitting to put, you know, where the, you know, the piping for the waterfall, or the, you know, the return for the water. So that's what that's about. And like I said, this is, if I ever needed to fish something through there, you know, I can and not have to tear it all up. I always do this. I always put a 4 or 6-inch line underneath anything. I call it future proofing. I do it across my driveway. I've done it, well, I've done it several places across my driveway, or gate entrances, stuff like that. I just, man, if I'm gonna tear something up, I may as well put in an extra. And it doesn't have to be a 4-inch. It could just be conduit or whatever you wanted to do. But this 4-inch, I could fish multiple things through here if I needed to. So hopefully I won't ever have to use it, but it's there in case I do. So the 1-inch water line is my plan is that at some point do just an irrigation, just one line with sprinkler heads right across this bed, and then tie into that 1-inch line, and then the same thing is in that box, and I can do an irrigation line across that side and just kind of have these. The way I'll have to set that up is I'll have to pull my garden hose out here and hook it up here, you know, but yeah, no big deal to do that once a week. You know, this won't be tied into anything, so I'll have to, like, tied into a permanent water line. So I will have to like hook a garden hose up here. But I mean, to pop this cap off, hook a hose up to that thing, pop that off easy, hook a garden hose up and let this all, you know, water itself, turn it on for an hour or two, and then unhook the hose. Man, that's a lot better than standing out here and doing it, you know, by hand. So it's a really crappy time of the year to do this project, but you know, it won't be long to where this will be full of weeds and grass, and I don't want that. And also, every time it's rained, a little bit more of this gets eroded down into the pond, and I'm trying to, that's the whole point of this, is to prevent that. So I just am doing it. I won't cover the whole liner right now. I'm just going to do what I can, get enough boulders and rock on it for now to hold it down. And then as time, you know, every evening do some wheelbarrows of stone and fill in. That's the plan. The big problem is I have to go, I don't have any way to get equipment in here. So I have to go from, I can't see in my screen, but over there off the driveway somewhere is the only place I can have this rock dumped. And they're like 12-inch. It's not called river rock, but it's like a river rock. It's smooth finished. I'll walk over there and show you. But I mean, you know, you can only fit 6 or 7 of them in a big wheelbarrow at a time. So I don't have any way to get equipment in here. It's just too tight. And the only spot I can get equipment in is super narrow, and it's at about a 45-degree angle. There's just no way. Nothing that I have anyway. So that's what I'm working with. It's just a lot of hard labor. And I've tried to get, you know, some high school boys to, you know, hire them to come help me, but nobody wants to do that. So I'll probably get Maddox if I can tear him away from his new job and the stuff he's, you know, starting it, you know, in his life now that he's graduated and out of the house. Try to get him over here to help, and then of course Chief will help, and we'll get it done. But I'm gonna show you these boulders, and then I'll walk over to the driveway and show you this smooth river rock type stuff, what we're doing with that. So I've got this mulch and stuff pulled back. I still have to kind of line this with boulders, and that's what all these big boulders are. They're just, I've got them placed. I hauled them over here with a hand truck yesterday. This was 1 pallet of stone. So that's going to be kind of the edge, and whatever excess I have, I will put inside kind of on the liner. And then let's walk over here. If you see my other videos, you may remember I'm doing flagstone right here, and I got one little tiny section done, and I'm just finding it very difficult to keep the concrete from setting up before I need to pour it out there. It's slow going. So I've decided to just lay these out for now, and we'll see if we get a cool day or if I can work on it little bits in the mornings, something like that. I'd like to have that done before fall. So let's walk over here. Let's see what, oh, I see one dog back here. There's Molly. Hi, Molly. Good girl. I know. She's in a nice cool spot there. All right, so here's this rock. This was 6 ton. I had a guy deliver it in a dump trailer, whatever you want to call it. And you can see, actually, this is much bigger than, I mean, most of this stuff is, I'd say, anywhere from 12 to 20 inch. There's a real big one there. So this is big stone, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna try to fill in as much of the space with this big stuff, and then I will come in between it all, the cracks, and do small river rock. So one thing with this liner is it's recommended that you have it covered, like completely covered. And that's so the UV rays, you know, the sun doesn't, if it just sets out in the sun, there's a potential that over time, I would think it would be several years, that it would dry out and get brittle and crack. And we definitely don't want that. So like I said, we're gonna do the boulders. The moss rock boulders is what they're kind of referred to here in Oklahoma. And then we're going to do the big river rock, and then do maybe a 3-inch river rock in all the cracks. So stay tuned. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight, but we'll keep you updated. So I'm outside working here. And I'm watching this peregrine falcon fly around. Is he back? Is he back for dinner or what? Watch out, baby. Yep, he's back for dinner. All right, well, the sun's going down, and although it has cooled off, and this is probably the ideal time to work in July, I'm pooped. I had to go in earlier for maybe an hour, hour and a half. I took a cold shower, I put on some dry clothes, and I'm gonna turn you around, show you what I got done. I didn't get done nearly as much, but it's hot. So I'm gonna turn you around. All right, so I've got this side over here. I've got the whole kind of rock ledge wall done and the liner tucked underneath all the rocks and up the other side of them, so the water won't push into that dirt and erode it. This liner's kind of hard to work with when you're not going perfectly straight with it. So these little wrinkles, that's all right. You won't even know they're there once I get all the rock in here. It also gives a little bit of stretch if it needs to stretch at all. It gives a little bit of give, I guess you could say. I'm still working on this side. It's not tucked in yet. It is in a couple places, but not completely done. I got a couple big boulders out here in the middle kind of area to kind of break up water as it comes down this little drainage. The mess down here is because I've got to move from the edge of this liner. That liner is going to continue straight there. So from here over, I've got to move all those rocks out of the way, overlap, and put a seam in that liner, and then put all the rocks back in there. So that'll be fun. I'm just going to go to here. I think the liner stops right around here somewhere. And then I've got all this scrap stuff that I am going to do a narrow. I'm going to kind of widen out this natural spot where the water is eroding there, or running. I'm going to kind of widen that out and do maybe like a 3 or 4 foot wide from here down as far as I can. I'm going to do something just real narrow, just so this doesn't, because this is where the majority of the water is always going to run. As long as the wind's blowing, I'm always going to have this. And it doesn't seem like much, and the wind's not blowing at all right now, but I mean very little. But you can see where that water is just cutting away, and that's what it does, right? So I'm going to do a narrow liner from here down all the way to the water's edge. I was going to show you one thing here real quick I thought was cool. I was showing you the peregrine falcon and the turtle earlier. This is another thing. This tree here is a Chinese pagoda tree, and it is dropping all these white blossoms. That's what all this is on the ground. So it gets these big blossoms on it. And if I stand back, you can just see them falling, almost like it's snowing. It's real gentle. Well, you're not going to be able to see them probably, but there's been a few fall there just in those few seconds. Kind of hard to see, but anyways, obviously they're falling all over the ground here. And I just love seeing this. That bee right there is so honey drunk. I think they call it honey drunk. He's laying on his side, taking all the pollen out of that thing. But I've been watching these dudes all day. There's another one right there. He's laying down halfway on his side. It looks like he's dead, but he's not. And he's just sipping away. Now I think these are bumblebees. And I probably see about 15 of them right now. I also was seeing honeybees earlier, but we're getting later in the day. So we're getting later in the day, and all the honeybees, they were out here probably 30 minutes ago, and you know, they all get back to their hive before dark. If they don't, they will find a branch or something to just perch up on and wait till morning. I don't know what it is, but they can't find their way after dark. So they've all left here in the past 30 minutes. They were here, and I'm hoping that they're my buddy Justin. I'm hoping they're his bees. So I still haven't showed this on video, but I've got 2 beehives in the front of the property. My buddy Justin set those out here. They're his bees, his honey. I just like it because I like the bees, and I like it for pollinators. So Justin, if you're watching, hopefully you are going to have some Chinese pagoda tree honey along with everything else out here, wildflowers and the garden stuff and orchard trees and everything else. So hopefully they're doing well, buddy, and I'm really hoping to get a jar of honey out of the deal. So anyways, we'll be back tomorrow after I get off work. I'll be back out here, and hopefully I can get a little more work done. We'll see you then. right, well, we worked at these stones until about noon. It got way too hot. Chief puttered out. She was helping me. She puttered out about 9 a.m.
That's not true.
But she helped me film the rest of the time, so that was a big help. We ran some errands and watched a midday movie in the air conditioning, which never happens here, so that was super nice. And we're back out this evening. I've just got a few more wheelbarrows of stone to move, and I wanted to save them for this little front part, the beginning of this creek bed. And I have no idea if this is how you're supposed to do this, but this is what I'm doing. So I pulled this back a little bit, this liner, and I dug a little trench that's maybe 6 inches deep or so, not very deep. And I'm gonna tuck it down in there. I'm gonna tuck that liner down in there and backfill, and then start my stone all right here, in the hopes that the water won't go underneath the liner. If I just laid it flat on the ground, my fear was that a lot of the water would just go underneath it. I don't know if it would or not, but this will look a lot cleaner and I think do real well. So let me get this all tucked in and we'll show you. Last load. We should have kept track of how many wheelbarrow loads. Well, this will be the last load for today. I think I'm gonna need maybe 20 more of these boulders, but those ones I'll just hand pick out of the what do you call it, the bins at the hardware store where I buy these. And we're gonna need a little bit more, but the big rocks are almost done. Woo! Oh boy. Well, I'm gonna split these videos up. I had originally planned on making this all one video, but it's gonna be way too long. And I don't know when I'll get to the rest of this creek bed. So, this is gonna be end of part one. So I'm gonna turn around and explain what I've been doing here. So if you've been following along, you know that originally this was a pool right here. An above ground pool, but it was buried in the ground. Part of the problem is a lot of drainage comes from behind me, and when it rains hard enough, all the water runs right through here. It wants to go down to that pond where Maggie is. We better zoom in on her there. Yeah, she's been in the water. The pond's really, really low. We've been dry. But, so in a previous video, I've been kind of documenting as I go here, but I had put down this pond liner, flexible liner, and I've got big like moss rock boulders along each side, and that's holding back the dirt for the landscaping. And in the middle, so what I did today is I put these kind of, I don't know what you call them, medium-sized boulders, or I'm not sure what you call them, but I wanted to kind of keep those on the edges. So that was my goal. I put them about 2 deep, sometimes more, along the edges. And then I did set some out here random. Now, I didn't quite get I got the whole pile moved. I'm moving this by wheelbarrow, obviously, as you've seen. But we're looking pretty good. I don't have this far end. One other thing I'm doing is I'm leaving a little strip right here. I'm going to use mostly flagstone, and it'll be a little bit easier to walk across there if I do that. I don't know if it's going to be just flagstone all the way across, but it'll at least be enough where I can kind of step over the rocks and get to this side. If all the rocks look like that, it's not terribly easy to traverse. So anyways, so we're going to need some more flagstone, and we're going to need some more of these boulders. I figure maybe 20 or 30 more. We've got to go across this bank here, and I'll probably line that little area down here. You can see this is the runoff from our windmill. So our windmill overflow is right there. It's actually stock tank overflow, but you can see the water running here, and it's a little windy out tonight, but nothing major. But since this water in this pond's so low, I went ahead and cut just a narrow strip and dug a little trench. As you can see, I may go ahead and cut, I've got more scrap, I may go ahead and use a shovel and clear that out best I can and continue that down there just as it's drying up. This pond has actually never held water year-round, so I'm not terribly surprised. And this is the first summer after having this pond dug out. We dug it deeper and had it dug out. So anyway, eventually this whole pond might get a liner in it. Not sure yet. But that's what we're looking at. Wanting all this grass to fill in here. I don't really plant seed. This Bermuda grass, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a curse where you don't want it, and it's a blessing where you do want it. You can see those runners, and they just go all over the place. They'll go through the gravel, through rock, through anything. So this will get filled in, hopefully by fall. We don't have a big dirt patch. So, from the opposite way, this is what we're looking at. I think it's looking really good. I'm really happy with it. Now in this middle section, like I said, I'll add some of these same bigger boulders, and that'll help break the water up so all this rock won't end up in the pond. And they'll all kind of lock together. So my plan is some more of these big ones, and then I'll go down a size. So these stones are anywhere from, like that one right there is probably 20 inches. I know it's hard to see, you know, the size dimensions and stuff on these videos, but that's a pretty big rock. Hard to see it, but, and then this one here is probably, 12 inches across. So we're looking at anywhere from 12 to 20 or bigger inch stone, varying thicknesses and stuff, but I think this looks pretty natural for Oklahoma, especially. So I got to set some more here in the middle area, and then I'll go down a size. It'll be about a 10 to 14 inch rock, and then I'll go down even smaller to fill in all the cracks. See here, I've got all these voids here, and that'll all get like a 3-inch river rock in it. So all that'll be covered. The goal is to cover the liner, because the UV rays over time will break down the liner. So I've still got a lot of work to do, but I'm pretty happy with today's progress, and it's going to be worth it in the end. I keep telling myself that. But here's one last look. Landscape's looking pretty good. It'll look great when it's done. So stay tuned. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think, and stay tuned for part 3. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think, and stay tuned for part 3.